Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. This is the F5 Recovery Podcast. We're so excited that you decided to join us. We have some very special guests, but of course, the show would not be possible without amazing sponsors. So thank you to the F5 Project, the Bridge Recovery and Treatment Center, as well as our newest sponsors, Heat Transfer Warehouse, Sherwood Fargo, and GoAwayBear.com, representing this amazing season. We're going to have two very special guests from an amazing organization doing some awesome work in North Dakota and throughout the Midwest, from Goldmark. And of course, I'll be joined by co-hosts as usual. We're really looking forward to a great show.
What's up, y'all? How's it going?
Hey, Ricky.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. It's all smooth.
They make it awkward, man.
That's how we always think about.
It was so low tone and like,
It was like, let's switch right over.
I'm really nervous.
Yeah.
Do you get nervous?
Welcome to the, no, I was gonna say the shit show. Welcome to the show. So we have Goldmark on today, some of my favorite people over there. And we're just gonna talk about a few of the programs, or the program, and maybe you guys have more, I don't know, but, and then just kind of overall like our relationship with them, and then maybe some good questions just to get going. So, but let's start. Why don't you guys tell us about yourselves, what you do at Goldmark, and we'll go from there.
You want to go first?
Sure. My name is Megan Schreiner. I am the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for Goldmark Property Management. I started in my current role, or on the operations side, in 2022. So new with leading the operations side of the organization. I was supposed to be the awkward one at the beginning because my background is being an accountant, but I promise you that's...
As soon as she said her title, I know, because Scott's the Chief Operating Officer for F5, and he was like, oh, she has an additional title. And I don't need another title. Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer, Scott College.
I like that. Cleans the name tag, Darby.
Again, yeah.
You have a lot of responsibilities. You're very, very important, right?
Thank you. You are too.
Thank you.
You have one more title than me. I'll be up there someday.
But the one thing that when we're going to talk about Thrive, what really changed in our organization and what started the Thrive partnership was really we had a new CEO come in 2019, and philanthropy has been a huge thing for our owners forever. But with the new CEO, they bring in a different perspective. And while our owners have been huge contributors financially in our communities, Joel Thompson came in and said, hey, we can do things a little bit differently, and we can help support the Housing First initiative, or at least we can provide support for that pillar, which I know we're going to get into Thrive, but I guess I have to let Simon introduce himself.
No, it's one of those things that when I had a recruiter reach out to me for the director of marketing role. By the way, Simon Andrys, been at Goldmark for just about a year, but that recruitment process was just all of the change that's happening with Goldmark, and getting Megan as my first interview, and just, ponying up. We're here to change things, we're here to do things differently, and that's what really got me excited about being here. From my career is, I have a design degree, but I found my passion in marketing, in business, and people. And getting that opportunity to be back with people is where I'm so excited to be, and being a part of the Thrive program, seeing that flourish, that's where my excitement comes from, joining Goldmark.
Awesome. And so, obviously, for those who are in the Midwest, we know Goldmark, very familiar. Can you talk a little bit about kind of what is the history, like what is Goldmark? What does Goldmark do for those listeners who may have never even heard of the company?
Our listeners in Japan.
You've got a big following.
So Goldmark Property Management is a property management company. Right now we are solely focused on residential property management. We have about 8,000 apartment units that we are responsible to manage in the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo market, but we are about 17,000 throughout the Midwest. So we have presence in Nebraska, Minneapolis metro area, Bismarck, and North Dakota. We have been around for 43 years in 2024. Founded by Ken Reagan, Jim Whelan, Jim Echtenkamp, and Dale Leon. Ken is still there, helping to support us in our day-to-day, but really is there as a mentor and helps us carry out kind of the mission and the values of what they created 40 years ago, and making sure that we continue that, which when I highlight who we are and what our culture is and why it's so exciting, we're a servant leadership-led organization, which means we don't say things like we don't have a corporate office. That's a swear word. We don't have employees, we have team members, because it doesn't matter your role or title. Title doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
We're all leaders in our own way.
Yeah, we have teams too.
We all just play a role, but
Good job, Scott.
but ultimately the success of our team dictates our success, and it doesn't work the other way around. But that even trickles to our customers. So customers, they need to be happy, and that's where Simon comes in, and where we're really focused as an organization. How our culture statement, which we launched within the last 6 months, is choose positivity, chase excellence, and champion results. So we are committed to that for all of our customers, residents, team members, and our investors. So I covered who Goldmark Property Management is, right?
Yeah, I would say so. That's where we lead into. We call it the year of the people, and that's across the board. Residents, our team members, and anything we can do, making sure that everybody has a voice and can lead in their own way. The impact that we're trying to produce from just even in our own, at the home office, our own little section with our team versus the whole company. We're doing Spirit Week right now. We didn't bring our wacky hats for Wacky Hat Wednesday, but it's building that camaraderie and the small things that really carry through, but building that pride. So one thing we're doing is actually called Blue Friday. I spent some time in Seattle, and I am not ashamed to say I'm borrowing something from the Seahawks. It's that support that we can do to say like, hey, we're in it. We're all carrying that infinite mindset. We just talked about off camera, going to all of our regions and sharing how important it is to build each other up and to carry through in every moment that we have, whether with team members or residents. It's choosing that positive mindset to say, I'm going to impact this person in a positive way, and make sure that this is resolved. And that's one of the biggest things and the biggest wins that we'll have to build up any business. And you guys have it the same way, right? Mm-hmm. Building that experience with your residents at your programs through the Thrive program, or even anybody that you encounter. It's always having that positive experience, because that's what people remember, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's really exciting to be a part of that and being on the forefront. I keep saying we're on the precipice of something new, and to be a part of that, I think, is what you guys get to enjoy too, with all the launches of your centers and all the new programs that you have. It's a big impact.
So you're all the way down in Nebraska? Mm-hmm. And you're how far west?
Omaha. We're done.
Okay, but not like west North Dakota. Like
Bismarck is as far west as we go.
Okay.
Do you have some in Grand Forks then?
Yes, about 17,000 or 1,700, not
In Grand
1,000,
Forks.
1,700 units in Grand Forks.
Yeah.
Bismarck and Grand Forks are about the same size.
So those are the 3 cities in North Dakota that you're in? Okay.
And is that the smallest patch that you have in the Midwest? Like, are you bigger down in this is your big operations here?
Yeah,
Cool.
we have about 17,000 apartment homes from Omaha to Minneapolis, Bismarck, Grand Forks, Fargo. And that's, you think about the impact that we have, right? And that's 43 years of learnings and opportunities that we can keep building on. But when we're focused on creating that experience in-house, we're dead set on making sure that, that number multiplies quickly, because there's oftentimes not just one person living there, there's a family, right? And there's a massive impact that we can have on those people. And it's such a great opportunity, and I can't communicate that enough with the teams. That's what every time she hands me the microphone, and it's just to talk about what an opportunity that we have. And that we have some of the largest share in Fargo for apartment homes, but that doesn't mean that, we can never take a day off, right? So we're always there to show up for people, regardless of how they interact with us, and yeah.
and expectations of customers are different. So
Yeah.
Simon's excitement doesn't come through with a smile.
Yeah. Emotions. Yeah, I'm learning to have emotions.
Oh, is that right, Mark?
Yeah.
But some of the cool things that Simon has brought into our organization, we've always done, we use Kingsley for customer service surveys. We transitioned that this year to use Chat Meter, and it really provides us a dashboard. So just like there's bad experiences and there's good experiences, but what this solution allows us is to identify where our opportunities are and really tackling those areas. So humbling, I would say, is the right word, but it's also really motivating for our team because we know, kind of like Simon said, the impact that we make when we understand and exceed our customers' expectations. So a lot of our initiatives are wrapped around that. It's not fun to get my 1-star review Monday report, but I also know that it's being addressed and that we can do our best to turn those experiences around.
Yeah.
So
Like you got a 1-star review?
No, we.
we as an organization.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, we
Yeah, I was like,
we get them all the time. You know, we have people who live in our properties or whatever, and I mean, a lot of times they're coming out of jail or, off the streets or out of prison or something, and they got, expectations.
Yeah.
And we have to have rules, and there's got to be accountability and stuff like that. I mean, at one time we had I had a 2.8 on Google or whatever, and I was just like, what are you guys talking about? So it happened. I mean, that's the shitty thing about negative reviews is that it that one compared to the 99 good ones that you got, and people just tend to just,
Yeah.
but I'm the same way as a person. Like whenever I speak somewhere, they're like, we're gonna do a survey. I was like, that is a horrible thing.
Yeah,
to
don't do that.
And so they'll, give a survey, and there's 1,000 people there, and only 20 do them, and they tend to be the negative ones. They're like, Adam's full of shit. It's like, oh, thanks.
Check that box, yeah.
Yeah, that's the difference is we can analyze the sentiment. So we've got words tied to everything, whether it's neutral, positive, or negative, and so we get to capitalize on that, right? So that's the learning side of things. That I think having that big of a reach that we get to really identify. The other thing that Megan hasn't alluded to is the premier experience is what we're trying to build for everybody, and that's tied to Google reviews, Yelp, everybody, and we look at that and say, here's our moments of opportunity, and she's forcing the hand of the VPs and the regionals and property managers to say, what are we going to do about this? Because this isn't okay. This isn't what we set out to do.
Megan's doing that.
Legit. Megan is.
it's important.
Yeah.
It's people's homes.
Yeah.
And we pride ourselves on the fact that we are the largest provider of affordable housing in North Dakota. We have a home for anybody. We have A-class properties, and we have properties that aren't, but people deserve to go to a home that's taken care of, that's clean, and that they feel safe and comfortable. So it's not a task to take lightly.
so you mentioned obviously Goldmark's been around 43 years, and so this is 2019, I think, when Thrive kind of started. So what was kind of the motivating factor to start Thrive and to really address the need, and obviously talk about what Thrive is? We know, but for those who don't know what the Thrive program, or have never heard of the Thrive program.
So the Thrive program is where we partner with organizations in our community to provide housing to those that may not get housing otherwise. The driver behind it is really, like I had said, Joel Thompson came into our organization. All of our leaders and owners are philanthropic in their own ways, and he just came in with a new idea to say, hey, all of you donate money, you donate your time and talents in these ways. Here's another way that we should consider supporting our communities, and unanimously it was, yes, we should do that. So it is ingrained in our values. So personally, I have been on the executive committee for the YWCA I'm on my 4th year, my 2nd term. I have 3 young girls at home, so I run Bio Girls in Hawley, Minnesota. And I'm very active in my church. So it's that kind of the expectations and part of our culture that we have a commitment not just to our families and our team members, but to the greater communities. So Joel came in proposed this idea of Thrive, and we capitalized on it. So we picked organizations because we also know that housing is a significant and a huge piece to help people to turn their lives around and to become successful. But really the other significant side is the support that they have around their mental issues or whatever else they're dealing with in their life. And if we can partner with organizations that can provide that side, we can provide the housing side. So that was what really launched Thrive. And like I said, we have apartment homes in all price levels, so it's attainable housing. So it just works, makes sense. We have that resource, let's provide it.
So is Thrive, the program, is it only in Fargo?
So right now it is, but there isn't a reason that it has to be. Like
Because
there
we've
is.
had requests, you know, we have offices in Grand Forks and Bismarck, in all the major cities in North Dakota. So that's something that has been brought to me is like, can we get Thrive in Bismarck? Because Bismarck right now is a real problem with our staff, our team members finding safe housing for people. So that would be something if you're looking at it, we would love to be a part of that.
Yes, I don't know if that wouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
So when we think of the resident screening process, any resident can screen in, right? If the screening criteria, if a felony comes up on a background, it's a denial, but every individual has an opportunity to do what's called a notice of adverse action, which is it goes through the appeal process. And we're consistent with everything in our organization. We have to be with fair housing, treating everybody consistently. But we have taken the stance because we are very diligent in who we're partnering with through the Thrive program, that if those residents or those prospects are partnering with one of our preferred Thrive partners, that they have taken the steps to better their lives, and that we will give them an opportunity on the housing side.
Okay.
And to Goldmark's credit, like in the 20 plus years that I've had worked with this population, they've always been willing to hear this population out. You know what I mean? Whereas a lot of places just automatically are like, I don't want the headache, I don't want the problems. You know what I mean? Because this is messy. It can get messy with all of their history and all of the things they bring to a residence. You know what I mean? But there was never just a flat denial. It was like they were willing to hear, like, what's your story? What are your plans? You know what I mean? So I was always impressed by that. That was always something that for 20 years has been consistent with Goldmark.
Yeah, and Adam, I think you've worked closely enough with Ken Reagan, who's kind of our, he's the one that's still around, and I think you can attest to how he has supported F5 as an organization and just who he is as a person, and knowing the impact that not only F5 but a lot of our nonprofits in our community make. It's important to have you guys around.
So far, like he showed up at he's went so far, not so far, he's only, he's went so far is like showing up at my house on a Saturday to donate clothing.
Wow.
He's probably going to get so mad that I brought that up because he's not very big into what I honestly, I don't care. Because that's a big deal. He's a big deal in Goldmark. So it's, and I think sometimes leaders get like they don't want people to know the things that they do, but they should, because it has a ripple effect within the organization. And I get why he doesn't like, putting it out there or whatever. And I respect that. But this is one of those things where it's just like, he's got probably thousands of things that he could be doing, and he's donating clothes on a Saturday and hand delivering them to my house. Yeah. It was probably convenient. Who knows? I doubt we live by each other, but it was really cool. It's really said a lot about him that he was willing to do that. So, yeah, you guys have good. And Joel, when you guys started the Thrive program, I got called to Goldmark, and that's when I met him. I think he'd only been there for a week, and I was just like, so, I mean, from the outside, even when I tried to rent from Goldmark back in the day, which never happened, and I don't blame you guys because I was already living in the Goldmark apartment. I was squatting in them, and I was like drinking and committing crime and getting arrested. But you never knew because I wasn't on the lease. So, but anyways, what I'm saying is that that I've had nothing but good with Goldmark. I know that in times that I think, I'm learning as a leader, right? And this partnerships are important because they help rise the water, and if that does that, all the boats benefit from it. And pretty new criminal justice reform, and then you just kind of go out there and you get opinionated and you get followings, and then and so I think I probably inappropriately in the past have shared some biased opinions based on narrow scope of vision, right? And so, but I mean the fact that the Thrive program still exists is because I know there's been things that have happened. And the fact that it still exists, even knowing, even some of the participants that we've referred over there, and then reading about them on the news later, or whatever, and then still willing to work with us shows that it's not just a program to profit off of. It's a program that you genuinely are trying to help people. Because I bet you, I don't know the numbers.
It is not a profit.
I don't know the numbers from either a profit standpoint or even a success standpoint or whatever, but I do know stories of people who have benefited greatly because of the program and gotten their kids back and have not used. And I think in the recovery world we talk if I can just change one life, you know what I mean? Then it's all worth it. And I think even on that, there's a ripple effect to that life. So it's not just one life. You never just change one life. You're changing a whole trajectory of a generation based off that one person. We just won't ever, we won't ever see the full impact of the work we do because it's probably going to happen generations from now. But I know stories of guys who are doing very, very well because of that program, and it's only because you guys kept it going regardless of whatever has happened. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, there's other legs that we have too there's the Thrive Housing, the Thrive Giving, and then we also donate time through that program. Each employee at Goldmark has 2 days worth of donated time to go out and be part of the community. But it's been one of the big focuses since I've started. Megan was like, you need to meet with our team, Angela Arneson. We need to build this up. We need to make it bigger and better. So it's been a big focus now, even that we've hired Nikki Sneed to manage it. It's going to be a whole new experience for everyone. I think that we look at growing the program. That would be a huge thing. It's going to be more community awareness, and it oftentimes can stand alone. It doesn't need to be tied to Goldmark, right? It can have its own life and be that part of the community that that's a resource that everybody needs. And we have 6 partners right now. And working even with the YWCA to make sure that people of all fashions need homes. That's the significance. That's where the growth happens. That's where the new stage of a new beginning, and people come back and celebrate Thanksgiving with them. This is my home. This is where I live. That's such a important part of what we do, and making sure that message is carried through. That I think, no matter what, it's someone that came in off the website or through the Thrive program, they're all treated alike and make the best of every opportunity that we have. So it's such a unique and great opportunity.
Yeah, awesome. So, are you happy that you're at Goldmark?
It's one. There's 2 answers to that.
Yes and no.
One answer is yes. It's I was able to share in my annual review of having the opportunity to be at an organization where I get to make an impact, and it's been something personally I've been thriving to do. I have ideas, I have concepts, I have a big picture concepts that I want to bring to the table. Megan and everybody listens. It's been such a welcoming place to be a part of such a unique leadership group. And the other side is, part of my introduction, I mentioned the people. That's what drives me. I may not have emotions all the time or show them. She says that every time. It's a hard thing to...
Well, when he tries to present as the director of marketing, choose positivity, and then he stares at the
Choose
audience.
positivity.
It's the Midwest, stay stoic, yeah.
Yeah, stoic. That's a good way to describe it. But it's one of those things that I may not show it, but man, do I see the impact of that. And I'm in
I
position
am
to...
so happy right now.
I am happy to be happy. No, it's such a cool thing to see, and to see the direct impact, right? So, use an example, thing that we're famous for, somebody saying something online, right? I may be at home doing bedtime with my daughters or whatever, and a 1-star review comes through. I'm able to escalate that directly to the RM, the PM, Megan, the VP, everybody knows, the maintenance manager knows, something needs to be taken care of right now. And within 24 hours, most times, if they allow it, we get to resolve that. In fair housing, we can't talk about it publicly, we can't address anything. So oftentimes it does seem like a robot's talking back to you, but I see everything. And I get to see how we get to capitalize on that and make sure that we've turned it around, or tried absolutely everything we possibly can. And it's just one of those things that you see impact. And that's where I get my spark from. That's what fills my cup. And it's truly incredible.
It's a good answer.
Well, and the fun part about it is, like, you identify those issues, and do we? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, maintenance has been, historically, it's been a position that you're lucky if you can keep a technician for a year. This year, our retention with our maintenance technicians is the highest in the organization. Like, we are able to retain them. So it's fun to find the solutions on the operations side. So some of the things that we did is all about the people. Let's make sure that they know that they have a career in our organization. So luckily we are at the size where if you come to be a technician at Goldmark, you can have an opportunity to become a master plumber. So we have an apprenticeship program. We have plumbers going through that program. We have leadership roles in the maintenance area all the way up to vice president of maintenance, and the VPs report directly into me. So it's changing the feeling for our technicians of, they know how important and impactful they are to our organization and to our residents. And that team has incredible leaders in play right now, and we have a lot of incredible technicians, and we have a goal to get to less than 3 days turnaround for all of our work orders by July 1st. So
Of this
that is
year?
of this year. And they are on track, and they might even beat that date, and Russ might scold me when I get back to the office. But they have the team in play that will get it done. We have a lot of incredible team members that understand that they're working in people's homes, just like Simon said. Sorry.
Touch your nose.
Simon said,
Who's out?
oh, it's you. Oh, it's Megan.
What are we doing?
Simon.
Oh, I get
It's the
it.
magic word.
Okay.
I try not to. But in all seriousness, that is
We're
like,
doing emotions.
no, we don't do that.
That's how I
I was
show I'm
gonna
happy.
weep over the edge of
But we have our team is really fun. Just like Simon said, we care, and we will make impact.
It's alluding to like the leadership and development. We have an entirely new division of our company that is dedicated to showing people not necessarily how to do their job, but doing it the Goldmark way. And the maintenance technicians are launching their training program in 2025, but they're going to spend the next 6 months developing. We don't need to teach you necessarily how to spend 2 weeks in the Goldmark training session to fix a sink or something like that. That happens on the job. You learn how to do that. But we're going to teach you how to open the door with a smiling face to send the text message that says, I'm on my way. And you're alerted and get to track those work orders, or self-service. We even have that where residents are enabled through the portal to say, hey, I need something done. And if we can get that done in the short term within 3 days, but in the long term,
Same day.
same day service. That's already happening in Bismarck. Something's wrong, I need this fixed. It's happening same day. There's lots of opportunity that people get to see, and that's hopefully fills their cup, right? Because I think Russ even made the example of people working in construction, and those people are out there because they don't want to work with people. You're here because you have that opportunity and that drive to make sure that you're making an impact on someone's life every day. So that's the big thing that makes us unique, and I think if we can realize that, our leadership already does, so it's just that trickle-down effect that everybody gets to say like, wow, this is such an opportunity, every opportunity.
Yeah. And so Adam was talking about just this generation of change and just how much these programs that you're impacting and lasting. So what does that look like? What does Thrive look like a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What is kind of your goal?
Our goal for Thrive,
Yeah.
as long as we can make a positive impact, we continue and we grow if it makes sense to grow. I didn't come here with a strategic plan for Thrive, and I know we're working directly with Adam to say what are our learnings, and how do we partner on both sides to help us learn and to help F5 project learn too. So it would be great if we could provide those opportunities for individuals that are not in Fargo. When it makes sense, we'll have to talk after how to make that happen. But there isn't a goal to have a certain number of units filled or anything like that. I know right when we launched Thrive, we had said 1% of the apartment units in Fargo. We've never gotten to 1% of the units, and I don't know what the driver behind that is. But if we need to get to 3% of the units because it makes sense and it's being successful, then let's do 3. It's not a set. We always have apartments available, and if we can fill them and help the communities, then let's do it.
Yeah, you guys kind of have your own incubators. I know we met a few months ago. How has that been going for you?
Pretty awesome. We have 2 fourplexes over in, well, not far from here in North Fargo. We got them filled up. I mean, everything's filled. We expanded women's housing or women's units from 3 beds to 6 beds last week. And I think that's probably going to continue to grow. We used to do women's housing. Yeah, I know. Because Kirsten used to work at F5 back in the day. She was like one of the originals with me. And she ran in, I remember we had like a bunch of houses because we had a company come in and we're like, we don't know what to do with these houses, and we'll let you have them at a discount, plus you don't have to pay anything for like 6 months. And so I was like, I'll take them. And so we just kept getting these out. And then we think we had like 6 houses and we had like 3 employees. And anyways, and so we just like filled them up, and then we had a women's house and it had like 6 women in it and stuff. But then Kirsten decided she wanted to go home and be an at-home mom. And so then we had this women's house, and it's all guys working at F5. And so we're like, all right, we'll just slowly digress this. But it's going really well. We got some really good team. Derek and Fargo and Darren out in Bismarck, Matt over in Grand Forks, and then we have our Minot apartment complex that was converted into like a big unit. And so 4 cities, 5, with Moorhead, 5 cities now. It's going well. I like the apartment unit structure better, way better.
It's way better. And they're side by side, so we have 2 units. So it's just a good opportunity for staff too. Yeah. Instead of driving 4 different places.
We had like 4 houses on like opposite sides of town, and humble beginnings. But yeah, it's going good. I think from all of our programs, I don't know specifically about housing, but between care coordination, housing, all that stuff, we're running at like a 25%, maybe lower recidivism rate. And that's all the programs. So we're talking over, 600 people a month. And so it's the reverse of the national standard, which is about 75%. And then I would say anybody who's lived with us for at least 6 months and then moved into their own apartment or whatever is a very, very small number of people who went back. It used to be 0. Recently, there's been a couple. you know, we kind of, and it all depends on environment, recovery, where they got housing, you know, all that stuff. So we have to be very critical of like what people are gonna do when they, you know, they leave or whatever. But there's things that we don't have control over. Like I don't have control over how much fentanyl is coming into Fargo. You know, I don't have control over interactions with how they interact with law enforcement because it triggered some trauma response or whatever, you know. So there's always going to be anomalies, of course. And those usually end up on Reddit, you know, because we ended up having to ask them to leave or whatever because they got caught with drugs or they caught a crime or, you know, or caught a charge or something like that. But it's never, what I found is it's never about, it's always about me. It's never about F5. It's always like the Reddit comment will be like, F5's amazing, but that Adam guy's a self-promoting shameless asshole. And it's like,
Because you're the one, you have to deliver the message.
Yeah.
But really, you're looking out in the best interest. We get it too. Like you're looking out in the best interest of the greater good. So if you have a resident that's gonna take, you're either gonna decide to get rid of them or they're gonna take 6 more individuals down with them. Like it's hard. It's
And so Scotty, so like obviously, you know, being in charge of programs, you know, Adam's talking about the success of that. What are some of the successes that you're seeing from your staff, and over all these different areas?
from your team.
From your
Oh,
team.
excuse me.
We don't call them staff.
Oh,
What's your title though?
They're not a rock.
what's your title?
Chief Operations Officer.
Okay, I was making sure.
Executive Vice President. Thank you for that. Because titles don't matter. And by the way, Simon, nice play on words with "I'm thriving."
Oh.
Do you remember saying that?
I blacked out. I don't remember
I was like,
anything.
you threw that in there. I'm
No.
thriving, and I'm like, yeah, good use.
Well
Yeah.
played.
Well played.
Happy accident.
So yeah, a lot of our team members, one of the things that we get to see a lot of with our care coordinators and our housing people is when people, like you talked about, having successes. You know, when they finally get their own place. You know, we have one of our care coordinators, she was so excited because there was a guy that came to her that was homeless. You know, his life was in shambles. And within 6 months, he got a place, his own place, a great job, you know, and the support system. And I think part of that success, and Adam and I have talked about this before as leadership, some of it is that continued support. You know, like why we think sometimes, you know, once somebody leaves F5 and they get their own place, if we're not continuing that support with them, that's sometimes when it falls off. Because like for me, you know, talking about like with drug court, you know, people are in drug court and they have 12 months of 3 meetings a week, going to or treatment for 3 days, going to drug court a weekly, have to have a full-time job, and they've got all this structure, and then they graduate and they're like, go be great, you know, and they're just like, they're scared, you know, there's fear there that, what am I gonna do? You know, I've had all this support, people kind of, so, you know, I think a big goal for F5 is that we continue to try to carry that support further, you know, not to the point where we're living with them for 7 years, but to the point where, you know, that they can kind of transition, you know, maybe that first 3 to 6 months after they get their own place, they continue with their care coordinator and their peer support, or even the housing person. You know, that somebody's checking in on them, checking, you know, hey, you okay? Is everything going okay? You know, or somebody's struggling that they come into the office and talk about it. And a lot of the successes that we're seeing is coming through that process. You know, allowing people to have that continued support. And, you know, we've actually made moves where we've promoted Deb Bentram into our community housing director for the state of North Dakota. Great. And she's very, very versed in like HUD and homelessness, and she worked for I don't know what it was called.
She worked for the city.
The city of Fargo, and she worked with the homeless population
That's cool.
a lot. And she just has great ideas, and she's just a wealth of knowledge for our staff or for our team. And for those, you know, that's one of the things we were missing, I think, you know, because everybody's like, well, I don't know what to do. You know, they're dealing with 7 other things over here, but now we have somebody specific that they can go to, and she gets them connected. Oh, you need this? Okay. You know, we're dealing with sex offenders. Okay, we have connections there. She does. And, you know, it just gets to be, you know, the more support, it's exactly what you guys are talking about. as leadership, the more support that we can give our team members to do the better job, you know, because that's where the frustration comes in. Well, I tried everything, nobody wants to help this guy, nobody in the team wants to help us.
Yeah.
You know, and then they get frustrated, that's reflected on the person that's trying to get the help that's already struggling. And then that person is, you know, but if we can remain positive, that positive energy pushes people to do different things and better things. You know, so I think the more we can do with you guys and build this out, the opportunity is through the roof, in my opinion. Because I think there's just so many things, and that's where the success comes, where people are coming back and saying, man, this changed my life. I mean, we have so many stories that we get back from people that are, you know, I was at the bottom, we see it all the time in our chat rooms and our teams, and that's the name of it.
Oh,
We
But care coordinators putting in their success stories. And that builds other people up, you know, just like you're talking about having these, it's all about culture. You know, if we build a really awesome culture where people want to stay there, they're going to be more successful. In turn, the people that we work with become more successful. And there's always going to be the people that don't make, you know, that really don't want to change. But it's not our job to change them.
No.
It's not your guys' job to change them.
Yeah, and you're building advocates, right?
Yeah.
That's the next step, is to now you go pass the buck. It's your pass the buck. You go now take care of somebody else. You go share your positive experience with somebody and then make an impact on them, right? That's the part where it's the butterfly effect. That's what I was looking for. That's all we're trying to do in the same vein. And we have so many experience opportunities to make somebody happy or to build that up, but the what is it, the oxytocin bond, this other Simon Sinek thing, is where you get to build that. If I have a positive experience with you and I told you that I like your shirt, it made me feel good, it made you feel good.
Yeah,
There's I do. You look very snazzy today. It's one of
You looked
those.
at Adam for him to like say something when you know he's not.
I'm just, you know, I'm one of those guys where like, if you tell Scott I'm like, well, what's wrong with mine, bro?
I saw your eyes as soon as Scott was like,
Now we've had a negative experience that you didn't even acknowledge.
But I
He
do
just
like
looks like
that.
that.
But it's that,
Stuff
right?
like this.
If you have a negative experience, it has twice the impact of if you have a positive experience. So it's even more, it shows more effort, right? You can do one step forward, two steps back. It's literally that. So if you can continue to push forward and say like, hey, I'm gonna do anything I can for you. You know, you shared your story with me, that video online with Andre for you. Like, he would do anything for you, and he was unrelenting, but he had terms, right? It's so impactful to hear that story and to say like, everybody needs an Andre, everybody needs that person, but a lot of it happens at their home, right? And so there's that shared connection that we have of, this is where everything can happen for someone. It's such a great opportunity for all of us.
Well, and I think too, it's like when people, you know, a lot of us take for granted having a place, having a house. You know, we don't understand that. We can't wrap our heads around what it's like not to have a house. But when you watch somebody get their own place for the first time, it's chills down your back. I mean, it's so amazing. It just brings you that energy to say, I need to help more. You know, and that's the cool thing about, and we see it all the time with our team members. You know, you can see it in their face. You know, they come in, they're just like, I'm in the middle of a meeting, and they're like, I gotta tell you about this. And I'm like, okay, give me 2 seconds here. And it's so-and-so just got a place, and they've been so excited, and we got them some furniture, and we got them this, and, you know, all those things, you know, that a lot of us have taken for granted. We just lived in houses.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in a house, you know, this, where the people that we're helping and giving that power to do something different, just like you said, now they're gonna wanna do something for somebody else.
Yeah.
I met a girl yesterday. Goldmark's the only company that when you ask someone where they live, they'll say a Goldmark apartment. I've never heard anybody use another firm's name when they say it. It's always, I got a Goldmark apartment. And so when I was meeting with her yesterday, and I was like, so where do you live? Like center, you know, whatever. She's like, no, I have a Goldmark apartment. I was like, what? And I was blown away because I was like, I mean, you know, after I hearing her, but then I heard her story and how she was in work release, and then she got her job as soon as she got out, and then like got her car, and then got a license, all within like a week. Like she just, the tenacity of this woman. And then she's like, and then I got a Goldmark apartment like a week later. I was like, how? You know, because it was a really good story. And I think we're gonna hire her to like work for like.
That's awesome.
Without a cosigner.
Without a like it was
impressive.
It was very impressive how she. I mean, I can see why.
Yeah.
Like after hearing her like after story, you know. So it was really cool to hear that because it was really unexpected. And then I just, like I said, I noticed that anytime I meet with someone and they live in a Goldmark apartment, they always name drop. Like they're just so prideful that they've gotten one because you guys are the biggest, right?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, from maybe past CEOs or whatever, I'm not saying like there's anything crappy about them or anything like that, but I think there's been such a huge pivot, at least from what I've seen, since Joel's came on and taken initiative, and then you getting in your position, so that brand has gotten better. Because I don't think I ever, back in the day, ever saw anything about Goldmark. Like there was no, it was like, I mean, also social media wasn't that big yet, but the only time I ever heard about them was negative experiences, word of mouth, right? And then in our group of people, when I was, you know, drinking all the time and going to jail or whatever, like there was probably more stories about Goldmark in jail, like how they lost their apartment or they didn't get their you know, deposit back or whatever. And it's cool because like when you're in there and they're like, whoa, what did the apartment look like when you left or whatever? It's like, wow, I mean, it was a meth lab, but it was like, I don't think you're gonna get your deposit back. You probably need more money from you for it. It probably stinks. But now it's like, it's very rare that I've ever came across anything where it's like, well, that was unjust or that was unfair. I don't even remember the last time, you know. And I think people are starting to realize that too, because, you know, with such high numbers, you also have high numbers elsewhere too, right? So like for F5, we only have, 40 beds, you know, technically 40 units or 40 doors. And, you know, we've never had an eviction, right? But I don't think that's because like, you know, if we had 400 doors, the likelihood it would be a lot more, you know what I mean? And so, you know, when those negative, like if someone gets evicted, I rarely think that they're going to be like, well, this was a positive experience for me.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought up eviction actually, because that is a part of Thrive that we haven't touched base on. So it's, how do we prevent eviction? Because once you have that on your record, it's so hard to get rehoused.
Yeah.
So we are intentional with our property managers to make sure that they know all of the resources in our community. If we start to see a resident going down the wrong path, to make sure that we address that, because nobody wants to go through an eviction. So we try to prevent it as well as provide housing with Thrive.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're gonna make mistakes, but the reason that I love working for our organization is because we own all of them and we will make it right, no matter what the cost is. Sometimes you gotta find the right channel to make sure that you're being heard. But I go to bed at night pretty easily because I know that even if we make a mistake, that we'll own the mistake, but we will take care of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Megan and Simon, for coming on. And of course, want to thank F5 Project, the Ridge Treatment and Reentry Center, GoAwayBear.com, Heat Transfer Warehouse. Trish from Fargo, all of our sponsors for having us. Do you guys have anything else you want to share before we close?
I mean, we might as well thank Goldmark for being a sponsor because you guys are going to do it, right?
Gotcha.
Oh, and to our brand new sponsors, Goldmark, thank you very much. Oh, well, we're so grateful that you all decided to come on the show.
Nice of you.
My co-host. Appreciate you, Scott. Thank you, Kirsten. That was awesome. We'll be back next week doing it again.
I appreciate you too, Ricky.
We appreciate you.
Oh,
Thanks,
they
You
really
said it
say
to everyone except me.
I was going to get a special, but not
Ricky,
anymore.
do you know why ducks have feathers on their back?
No,
To
why?
cover their butt quack.
Oh
my God.
see,
Oh, I love it. It's so
you
good.
brought this
I'm
up.
also got a dad joke title.
Oh,
So that's
I've
my
seen
part.
that.
yeah. You see what
Oh, those make me happy.
Thank you for
Because
another
my
great
daughters
amazing
are
show.
11 and 9 and
Please have a great day recovery.